Are you petrified of public speaking? Whenever you stand up in front of somebody, do you get that awful sort of sick feeling in the stomach and your palms get sweaty and you get hot and cold and you forget what you want to say? Have you ever had that? Well, I certainly have. And it's interesting that a lot of people recently have commented, especially on the talks I've done recently, on, so it's easy for you, Mandy, you can do public speaking. Well, the reality is it wasn't always like that. So what I want to do today is to share with you my story of how I've actually become more confident in public speaking. I wouldn't say excellent because nobody is excellent and there's always something to learn, but try and share with you that story to try and help you become a bit more relaxed about speaking in public. So my name is Mandy Cran and welcome to my moment of reflection for the week. I've been doing these for about 5 years now, and I was at a point in my life where I would just suddenly see a quote or a beautiful picture and just make me take a step back from my life and actually reflect on where I was, and actually life wasn't so bad after all. So that's really my purpose this morning with my moments of reflection, to help you take a little bit of a step out of life, take a moment to reflect, and hopefully to put you in a better place with a lovely picture and a quote. And if I tip to help you too, then that's fantastic. Please like and share, and particularly if there's somebody you think this would really help, then please forward it on to them. So the quote for this week is, "Those who know what they're talking about don't need PowerPoint." So I'm going to share with you what happened to me. I was a very, very shy child, quite confident, but very shy. But I went to a very strict boarding school, and in the first year they'd knocked any self-belief and self-confidence out of me whatsoever, and I just retreated into the background for 10 years. Now, somehow, I'm not quite sure how in all of that, I ended up in the army as an army officer. And in my first week at Sandhurst on commissioning training, they made us all do a mock live interview on television with a journalist. Now, we'd had no training, we just had to get up and do it. And I was, even though it was just in-house, I was absolutely petrified. I was terrible, absolutely terrible. And the feedback was, I just won't go there. And that really knocked my confidence for quite a long time. And so thereafter, I always had to have notes to know exactly what I wanted to say. And even if it was on a little card in my hand, I needed to have that prompt to make sure I didn't get it wrong like I had done in that particular interview. Of course, if I had a PowerPoint presentation, it was fine because then I had the notes on the screen. And I thought pretty much after a few years I'd cracked it. I gave the illusion of being very confident up there in front of people. And as an officer, you're up in front of people all the time in all sorts of different ways. Anyway, I then took command of a unit, and I had about 250 young officer cadets, all students at university, all really keen, bright and enthusiastic, and not really following the rules at all. They had no respect for authority pretty much whatsoever. Anyway, at the end of the year, we have a sketch night. And one year I was the subject of a comedy sketch about how I could never actually speak without using notes. And it was pretty vitriolic, to be honest, because everybody else found it hilarious, and therefore, as I was the boss, I also had to find it hilarious. But deep down, I was absolutely mortified because I thought I'd actually really built my confidence and was, doing quite well when I was speaking. But they'd seen right through that. And that night I decided that I wasn't going to use notes for speaking ever again. I had to get over this, get over myself, and just get on with getting good at it. Now, the next thing that I was doing a few weeks later was an inspection parade, passing out parade for soldiers. So you've got all the soldiers on the parade, you've got all the families and the employers behind you, and you've got a dais, and you have to stand on that dais and speak. So you're absolutely in full view of everybody. And I had to give a speech. So I sat down and planned my talk, and I spent ages constructing it and putting the thing about what message I wanted to say. And then I practiced and practiced and practiced. And I wasn't learning it by rote, because that sounds terrible. What I was doing was practicing the message and the structure of it, so it was much more natural. And I practiced a lot for that particular talk. Anyway, got to the day and we did an inspection. I got up on the dais and I started off, and it just absolutely flowed. And actually, I really enjoyed myself. And I came off really, really buzzing. Thought, I've actually done that for the first time in my life, really, and felt good about it. And I was a territorial officer, so I was part-time, and all the other officers were there were regular officers, so they tend to look down the TA bit, as they do. Anyway, a couple of them turned to me and said, "Mum, that was a fantastic talk. I was so impressed you did it without notes." I thought, wow, for a regular officer, that is real compliment. And that gave me the confidence then, the belief in myself, actually I could go on and do much better at public speaking. So every single talk I've ever done, I've always planned the message in great detail, done a mind map, so I've structured it, and then I've practiced. And as the years have gone on, it's obviously got easier and easier to do that. And I've found it much easier now to keep that structure in my head of what I want to talk about, and so it can flow much more easily. But I still use mind maps to plan on my talks, and I still do practice them, and you can't beat practice for these sorts of things. So, as I say, it's been quite a hard journey. That night after that sketch, I really just didn't want to appear anywhere in public again after that. But you have to carry on, don't you? And I did. And actually, as time's gone on, I've really enjoyed doing speaking, but I'm only enjoying it because I put the practice in and the planning in advance to make it a really good speech. hopefully a really good speech. I do make mistakes too, we're all human, but that's the plan. So I wanted to give you 3 little tips to help you, because you can do loads of fantastic training out there for how to present. I know somebody locally, the presentation maestro, Michael Drake, he's fantastic at teaching how to speak, and he can teach you far more than I ever could. But I'm just going to give you 3 little tips, and the first one is to make sure when you plan it, you think about the message that you want to give. Because it's not the words so much are important, it's the message. And if you try and learn the words by rote, you'll simply forget them and you have a mental block and won't know where you're going. So always plan it and think about the message. Practice is my second tip. Practice, practice, practice. So that although the words might not be the same every time, the flow of the presentation is sort of coming together. And my last tip, and actually a really, really important one, although it might seem very small, is to make sure that your opening sentence is a real cracker. Because if you just say, "Hi, my name's Mandy Crown, today I'm going to talk about," people go, "Oh." So you've got to have something that's a bit different. And just an example, I started a talk recently with, "I want to take you to the island of Sark. I'm 13 and I'm sitting in front of the log fire with my brother, and it's a filthy, filthy night outside, and he's teaching himself to tie knots." And everybody's like, "Oh, I wonder where this is going." So I've got them, and then I go on to talking about, and if you want to watch the talk, you have to watch it online. I haven't got time to explain it now. But I hope that I'd really engaged them in that first 2 sentences, because I really didn't quite know where I was going, and they wanted to find out the moral of the story that I was telling them, and so I had their attention. So always think about your opening line being different. It's really got to stand out, it's got to connect to the talk you're talking to, but it's got to be unique to you as well. So I really hope that helps you, and those 3 little tips will help you to feel more confident about speaking in public. If we haven't met yet, my name is Mandy Crown, and people come to me when they realise they need to make changes in their life if they want to have better health and more quality family time in the years ahead. If that's something you'd like to find out more about, then please visit my website, www.thebuzzgroupbmore.co.uk. There's some information on there, some videos you can watch, and there's also a contact form that you can contact me through. So that's it for this week. I hope you enjoyed it and found it useful. Next week I'm actually away on holiday because it's half term. We're going to the north coast of Wales, so I'm really looking forward to that. So I won't be here next week, but the following week I'm going to be talking about ladders. So please join me 2 weeks' time, 10 o'clock, live on Facebook, on my Facebook page, and have a great week.